Be recorded. And we are live. Welcome back to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. As always, you are joined by the co-hosts Zachary Small, Anthony Migliorino. I'm coming at you from the FamilyAlpha.com and FraternityOfExcellence.com. Anthony's coming at you from PeacefulFathers.com. We've been doing this for a while now. I think we're over 70 videos in. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you check that out right now because the content is continuing to come out. High quality content, high quality discussions, all focused on connecting families and improving yourself as a father in a family. And if you're a future father, it can help you out too. So whether you're a father who has a family, a bunch of kids or not, or your dad looking to grow, or a man looking to grow your family, check it out. That way you can start on the right foot. But with all of that, before we get rolling in today's topic, where we're talking about the evolution of a man, Anthony, what's up, brother? What's going on? How you been?
I'm doing excellent, bro. How we doing tonight? Things are good?
Things are great, man. We dropped that video where we were recording together. And I was like, man, like it's way cooler when we're sitting side by side talking about this. But this is a good substitute. It's almost there.
No, definitely, man. It's always better in person, right? That goes with everything. And it's cool that we get to do this. But like you said, right, when we're face to face, we're able to shake hands, we're able to look each other in the eye and really get into a topic, man. It's hardcore. It's real.
There's a flow to it that you can't quite replicate. Like I said, right now it's cool. But when we were talking, actually, the video we dropped was on the need for fathers to connect. When they do that, we were trying to show through an example. It's just different. You bring that vibe. You got a man in your world. You can engage. You can bounce off one another. You can get to know that man. He gets to know you. There is a great way to use social media, and what it's meant to be used as is to connect with people you might not have met in your physical world. But when you use that, hey, you connect. Dude, I like what you're doing. You like what I'm doing? Let's grab a coffee. Let's grab a cigar. Let's meet up for a dinner or something. Let's get a bunch of dudes who are in this group and start talking together. And before you know it, you've got a squad of connected men. I think that's one of the best ways for men to grow. But that's just me. I might be making all this up. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it is, man. It's like I said, it's real life. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to be around other men, be around other fathers, and this is what we do. It's what we talk about all the time, right? It's what I do with my life continually. I'm always trying to reach out and find new avenues where I can have that conversation, where I can meet up with another dad, another man, and say, hey, let's just talk, right? Let's have the conversation. What are you doing with your life? How can you improve? Where is it that you struggle? And it's the same conversations I have with my kids, right? This is part of the process that's helped me become better, is actually reaching out. So it's definitely needed, and I think as much as we have these conversations, they don't happen often enough.
Yeah, honestly, I do think that we get caught in the echo chamber because I'm like, everybody's talking about fatherhood and parenting. And then you go out in the world and you're like, there's nobody talking about this. I'm like, oh, all right. Maybe I'm just the people I hang around with do it. But I mean, that's a part of what we're doing here. And honestly, you've got something going with Kala where you're looking to make this more normal. So do you want to touch on that before we dive into this?
Yeah, no, definitely. We've created a program. It's 12 weeks based off his fitness and nutrition program. And he's bringing me into it. And we're gonna elevate the standards in fatherhood. So the goal is to get a couple fathers to join, and we're gonna have one-on-one Zooms, group Zooms with with other dads, and we're gonna talk about how we can be better, right? Where we lack, what we need to improve, and at the same time, Kala's gonna get them jacked. So it's gonna be a good program, right? We're still looking for a few more guys. And if you want to join, you can DM me, DM Kala, which I'm sure he's going to be hopping on later tonight. We're going to get him on the live stream. So it's a good opportunity to level up, to improve your life.
How do they go about subscribing to that or joining it? Or is there a certain type of man you're looking for?
Well, I mean, we're looking for fathers right now. This is geared towards fathers. It's a fatherhood challenge. Like I said, Kala runs his fitness program. It's just an extension of that. He invited me to do it with him, and I couldn't say no. It was a good opportunity to get in the mix and help dads out. So you can DM me on Twitter at Peaceful Fathers. You can email me, right, peacefulfathers@gmail.com, and you can reach out to Kala also on social media.
That's perfect, man. I'd love to see it grow. I'd love to see more dads taking the message to the mainstream. One of the things, we're 15 days into Meta March. And so we've got 91 guys working together to become better men. And inside that, it's like FOE. Every single day we get to see FOE. With this, it's a whole large group of dudes. A lot I've not met before. And so when they come in, it's a new set of issues, a new set of problems, a new set of perspectives and growth. And, not only have I learned quite a bit, but I've helped these men kind of find their way through the program itself to opening doors they didn't know were there. And that's sort of what I want to talk about with the evolution of fatherhood. So we can just start rolling with that, man. As dads, I think we close off a lot of opportunities and a lot of continuation through life growth. You have the kid and you think it's time to settle down because you don't want to hurt yourself because you are now responsible for a child and your spouse. So that's one thing is you start being a little less risky because now there's just more to lose. And I was recently talking to somebody and they asked me like with sobriety, why it was so, I just flipped the switch. And I had said I had built a life that I had too much to lose. I was at a point where I was like, man, a mistake now would hurt a lot more than a mistake, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I started connecting that to fatherhood. And I started thinking, how many men start thinking like, oh, I don't really need to work out because I have my kid and I've got my wife. And so what am I really looking to build these muscles for? Or I don't need to go out with the guys anymore because I have a duty to my family. A good man isn't going to go out to the bar. A good man isn't going to go out and spend his time, away from the family. He's going to stay home and buckle down. And maybe in the beginning, there's some truth to that. Maybe in the beginning, if your wife had a C-section or something, or she's really hurting from the pregnancy, she needs you at home. You need to take the time off work. You need to maybe skip the gym to be there for what she needs. But I think that goes on a little too long. And then that's the new norm. You never break out of that. You never come back from that. And that's why we see a lot of the issues with fatherhood. I know you hate it. I hate it. When people talk about dad bod, dad jokes, it's always a negative to what a father is. And we're talking about how if you take the father out of the home, kids are more likely to go to jail, more likely to have teenage pregnancy, more likely to fail in school. But when the dad's in the home, he's a joke. He's an oversized kid. He's a fat buffoon. And so why are we not putting these things together saying, hey, dads aren't jokes. The dad bod should be a father physique. You should be working out harder because you now have lives that you've got to protect. You've got lives who are going to follow your example. So they're going to be looking at to see what you do. And so for me, I think a family is the exact reason a father should go and evolve himself further, continue to push on all of the fronts of what makes a man. It's not time to take the foot off the gas. And I think, like I was saying with the newborn, I just think they fall into a rut that they never pull themselves out of. It's just like a new level and they just stay there.
Yeah. Your family should be a point of inspiration. And I know it was for me, right? And it's sad when you do see what you've just described in the world. We see men who almost fall to self-judgment. They just fail to want to get better, to want to actually evolve, create a life that is worth living, a life that has meaning and purpose. And I would, while we're on the subject, I would say a lot of it to me, there's 3 words that stand out is grown, wounded child.
Oh.
And this is a man who is really just experiencing maybe the trauma or the pain from his childhood, and he can't escape it. There's no outlet. So this is why a lot of guys stay stuck. And unfortunately, this is why a lot of fathers have kids and they pass that down to their kids, right? Through physical violence, through intimidation, fear, threats, all the nonsense that we speak about on the hurtful parenting that goes on. But when I think about everything that I've had to go through as far as me getting better and me becoming a better dad, becoming a better man, they go hand in hand, right? You start the process and you obtain some sort of insight to who you want to be, who you want to become, and you set forth on that path. You don't let the nonsense stop you. You don't let feelings of, let's say, comfort or even pain stop you, right? Those are tools to drive you. And, same thing with our children. When they get stuck, when they feel down, when they feel like life is impossible, right? They can't move forward. What do? Right? What's the go-to as a father? How are we going to be able to push them forward, to make them want to succeed if that is something that's so removed from our life, right? So it's, we talk about generational trauma as far as violence and abuse and manipulation, but think about that, how that sits in the family, right? A dad who feels like he can't do anything, that he's stuck, and how that reflects on his kids, man. That's That's like just setting the whole family up for failure.
And then you see that the complications that people have when they take that path. When one starts to go down that where I used to be somebody, you start to see that transition. A part of them knows that they're doing the wrong thing. A part of them knows they're getting fat. A part of them knows they're getting lazy. A part of them knows that they're spending money idly. They're putting money towards things that they don't even want or need. They're just trying to keep up with people. A part of them, I think, knows this. And so while they're trying to fill that void or distract themselves, like, oh, I'm not doing too bad, I'm just going to focus on TB. I'm going to focus on this next thing. Not only are they not healing the issues that they're looking to kind of pack away and push in the back, they're also making it worse. They're compounding the issues because now you're going to be fatter, poor, more sad. Everything else is getting worse, and you're not healing. And now you've got people following you. Now your wife is miserable. Now your kid is annoyed. Now the entire family has developed bad habits. Oh, and all of this, you're still not healing from your own personal trauma. You still have that void. You still have that weird anchor inside you. And you're like, man, I thought if I was just living this comfortable life, I'd be good. Because look, nothing's hard in their life. They come home, they sit, they watch TV, they can relax, 24/7. Yet they're miserable. Why are you miserable in such an easy life? Because men aren't meant to just be in a constant state of perpetual comfort. That lack of hardship, that lack of accountability, that breaks men, dude. That lack of just a reason to get up and push, that breaks the spirit. And you see these men that are broken, they're kind of just existing. And we've had many discussions with men where you can see it in their eyes. The sadness is there. The sadness is clear for anybody who's looking to see. They're just like, help me. And it's like, bro, you've got to help yourself. I can give you great pointers. You can join you and Khaled's group, but if you're not ready to do the work, you're not going to change. And if we want families to improve, we need men to be able to change. Changing your habits, changing your relationships, changing the standard from which you're operating on everything. The perspective, I constantly tell people, like, if you're looking at one thing, you can only see it one way. You've got to connect with other men who can see it from a different angle and tell you, hey, dude, try it this way. You can't see over here right now because you haven't worked to that level yet. But if I'm over here, I see it, I realize this is a good path to take. Go this way. You can do that with fitness. You can do that with your relationship. A lot of marriages that are on the rocks or rough waters of men that I've worked with, men you've worked with, men that we've seen inside FOE, they come in here and they're like, I don't know, this might be ending. I don't know. And they start to get their shit together because either A, they might be entering the dating pool. B, they've not had any good habits in so many freaking years that they're like, I'm just going to start being a better person. I've got to get my shit together while this is falling apart. So at the end of the day, at least I'm a good person who tried. The third thing they find out is, oh shit, things start to get a lot better when I start to take care of myself. Things start to get a lot better when I start placing myself first and investing in my growth as a man, my evolution as a man. Because you don't have to be who you were. You don't have to be the Homer Simpson another day. If today you're sitting there, you're like, I'm obese, I'm broken, I'm sad, I'm unmotivated, I'm poor, my wife is stressed out, my kids have horrible habits, and we have a shitty relationship. Okay. Those are 8 problems you have. We can start working on 1 right now. And then we can work our way down to 7. And then we can get it down to 6, 5, 4. And all of a sudden the dude's sitting there locked, cocked, ready to go, and all of a sudden they can't even remember who they were. How many marriages have we seen saved? How many relationships with the kids that were on the just shambles and broken do we see them thriving now? We see the photos in FOE. We see the photos from Dad Twitter. We see the photos of these men with their kids doing these great things. And it's not a mystery because we watched them when they were broken and they shared the whole story. Hey, I started doing better things. I started living as a better person. I started to evolve as a man. And instead of, the wild stallion that you were, you're still, that top tier motherfucker, except now you're doing it with a spouse and kids. You can keep it going. There's no excuse. There's no reason for men. They say biologically your testosterone drops. That doesn't mean your motivation has to go down. You might have to work a little bit harder. You might have to balance it around kids' sleeping schedules. That might not be the ideal situation like a single man has, but you can get it done. There's too many men out there with families crushing it for us to say that family men cannot win.
Yeah, man, those were excellent points, bro. When you were saying that, I was thinking about the guys who we've seen evolve, right, within FOE, and where they came in and where they were at that level, and where they are now. Right, there's a few of those guys I look up to from just the hard work that they're putting in and how they're evolving. And I think that's a important aspect of this, right? We have to ask ourselves constantly. I think you said it before, right? It's about being, what does it mean to be a good man? We've done a video on this. Those are questions you have to ask yourself as you go through the process, right? What does a good father do? How does a good father treat his kids? How does a good husband treat his wife? How does a good man treat his friends? Right? These are things that we have to constantly keep asking ourselves and keep improving on. And the one thing that, another thing that stood out to me what you're saying is these 8 things that we have to work on. We chip away at them one at a time. A lot of men fail because they have a multitude of problems. They go at everything full speed and they can't handle it. They're not strong enough, right? They're incapable of defeating these 8 demons, slaying these 8 dragons all at once. So it takes time, right? We're not going to give you a magic pill that instantly cures all your problems. You have to chip away at it. You have to take the steps, one foot in front of the other. And it's going to take a long time, right? But that is the process of growth, right? The more pressure you're under, as you become better, you get strengthened, you get hardened. And what an example to show your family, right? To show your kids your grit. And definitely gotta give a shout out to Jerry, man of grit.
I was just thinking it, man.
I can't say the word
without talking about him. Exactly.
Absolutely not. But what a great gift to share with your family, man, your kids, to show them what can be done when you just put in some effort. And a lot of that effort is within yourself, right? It's self-centered. It's you improving you. I say this a lot. Nobody can come save you, right? Nobody's coming to save you. But to become better, right? Nobody's going to make you lift a weight. Nobody's going to make you stop hitting your kids. But to put yourself in a position or around men who have done better, right? That's when you start getting the nuggets. That's when you start getting this information that will propel you, that will motivate you. Because the sad reality is all this stuff, when we get stuck and we're down and we feel like a victim or we're hopeless, it happens for a reason. And I don't know the exact reason. I'm just saying, right, there's something behind it. There's a why to the reason why we see all these men so disheveled, so destroyed in society. And I don't blame society. I blame what is happening within the families, right? How we're treating kids. There's this perception that we have to be hard on them. We have to be strict and we have to be rigid, and you can't give a kid an inch because they'll take a mile. We've been doing this for a long time. This is how kids have been raised. Kids have always been treated poorly. They've always been hit. They've always been yelled at and punished and mistreated. What we see, and I fully, this is just my crazy ideas and thoughts, but what we see happening to men is the pressure and the pain from all these things compiling on top of them, and becoming more distant, right? The family units are breaking up. So everything, it's counteracting together or acting together. Same thing with fatherhood, taking fathers out of the home. Of course, the families are going to get destroyed. Of course, men will be perceived as weaker. Men will be isolated and alone because they don't know what connection is, right? They don't know what strong families are supposed to be like. So once you take that step, you start to get momentum, right? It's like that snowball that rolls down the hill. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then pretty much you better get out of the way, right? Because you're not stopping it. It's going to cause some destruction in a good way.
What's interesting is that the trauma, the pain that goes, I had to mix it because I'm looking this way because the camera's there. So I just want to be looking at you while I'm talking and you're looking straight. So it makes sense for you to be there, right? You can't let it mess. You just got to roll with it. Right? It's like musical chairs. But I think you have a really good point there. We constantly say, I've got to teach this kid discipline. Dude, that's what they did as my whole childhood. Everybody, that was the thing. I'm spanking you because that's what you do. And still, we see kids getting spanked. And then we see these same kids who were spanked, these kids who were hit with the belt, these kids who did these things. They're the ones out there causing a ruckus. They're the ones out there looting. They're the ones out there stealing. They're the ones out there doing all these drugs. Well, they should have been hit more. Do we ever stop and think that we're just doubling down on the problem? Is anybody stopping and thinking that maybe instead of, doubling down on what we think makes a person disciplined or strong because we're making this romanticized version of what the military does. This romanticized thing of a gogi. We got to beat them. No, you don't. Raise your kids to be strong individuals. If you want them to develop the grit, you can foster that environment within the home. You can foster it within sports. You can put them in an environment where they do have to show resiliency. It's not your job as a parent to beat that into them. You know, when they're young and they're having a hard time just opening their juice, you can teach them grit. When you sit there and talk to them, like, yeah, it is hard, but I'm not going to open this for you. You got really strong hands. And you go over there and you show them the technique. It's like teaching a man to fish. You teach a kid to push through their when they want to quit. You teach them something because you're a parent. You teach your child how to be a stronger person. You don't beat that into them. We are saying kids need to be hit. We need to spank. Corporal punishment works. Why do we see all of these adults across the nation, Black Lives Matter riots, they are looting stores and blowing shit up? They were hit. I guarantee a majority of them were hit and spanked.
Oh, yeah.
And they're over there stealing and running through stores. California right now is getting wrecked. Like, from everything I have seen, I've never been there, so I don't really know. But from everything I've seen, that's another place where people are just doing their own thing and they've stopped arresting. Those kids were adults. Those adults were probably spanked as kids. Spanking and hitting your children does not work. It simply doesn't. And that's why kids keep on doing the same shit. And when we come in here with this new idea of, hey, maybe we could try to peacefully connect with them. Maybe we could remove the violence from the home and sit down and better address our relationship with them. Maybe that will stop the cycle of trauma that's causing families to fracture. That's causing men to be pussies. That's causing women to be resentful. You know, maybe if we connect with our kids and help them find that value within themselves and learn how to be a good individual who cannot be manipulated or controlled or persuaded by others who don't have the best means for them, maybe if we gave them that skill set and we armed them with that knowledge, they would be able to go into the world and improve it. Things are the way they are because the adults right now were raised by people saying, do as I say because I said so. You know, you see these politicians going to parties without masks while the kids are all masked up. Do what I say, not what I do. Or follow what I say, not what I do. Whatever the fuck that phrase is.
Whatever
We're
hypocrisy.
seeing that,
yeah.
We're seeing that live. And we still think, let's hit the kids more. That will make them better children. That is absolutely false. That is coming back from whenever the hell. And if we're going to evolve as men, if we're changing our relationship with money, if we're evolving with our understanding of fitness, if we're evolving in all these other areas, why not parenting? Why not put that in the same category? And all the pain that we see, it's like we're dancing around the main cause. If you had cancer in an organ, you wouldn't start chopping off other organs. You would go to the one infected. If the issue is that people, their soul, their spirit, their authentic sense of self, if that is hurt and damaged, we don't need to strike it down and beat them to a better way. We need to go to the source. What caused that lack of a belief in self? What caused that inability to connect with other people? What caused the fear that you're operating from? What caused the need to blindly follow authority? What caused you to sit there and accept abuse from others because it's okay for them to hit you? Childhood. Childhood trauma caused all of that. Your parents hitting you. Your parents telling you, sit down and be quiet. That's what makes a good person. Constantly telling your children that you need to do what I want you to do for my pleasure because you're to serve me, kid. All you're doing is replacing mom and dad with the government. They're just the next person you're trying to please, or your spouse, or your friends. And they have a hard time. You know, Anthony, you and I, we don't really disagree that much. But when we do, I just tell you. Like, we're pretty much, I don't remember the last time we had an argument, but it's happened. Like, no, dude, like, fuck that. Like, let's check out this. Yeah. We talk, though. I'm not ever afraid to tell you if I disagree or I agree. I don't need you to be content with who I am 100%. I need you to just understand my ideas and see where I'm going. I need to understand yours. And that's not a common thing. This
what a concept
is not. Well, this is what it should be. This should be the norm. You know, and we can give that gift to our children if we can invest the time in evolving our parenting methods. And I guess that's where I'm going with that little rant right there, is that I honestly think it's time for us to kind of peel back a little bit and stop looking at all these other issues and focus on the one issue. Before you do anything else and change any other of your habits, stop hitting your kids, if for no other reason than to just see what it does. Just go 3 months without it. If you want to go back to beating your kids, that's your choice to make. I can't stop you. I don't know who the fuck you are. But I can tell you right now, you know, I talk to people about sobriety and I talk to people about fitness and I say, hey, you know, check out Phil Foster. I was like, work with him just for 3 months. Give yourself a quarter of the year, 3 months, 90 days, see what happens. And after that, then you can decide, I want to go back to who I was. Stop drinking if that's an issue. If it's weed, stop smoking. If it's pills, stop popping them. Just for 3 months. You don't have to go sober for life, but see what it does. And you know what? A lot of people never go back, or they completely change their relationship. There's one dude who went back to drinking, but he's like, dude, I only drink. It's like 2 drinks on a Saturday night, and that's it. Where he was a daily drinker. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, dude, all he had to do is reevaluate the relationship. I think with parenting, 3 months of no corporal punishment, see what happens. Who wants to go back to hitting their kid after that? How could you even look at yourself and be like, oh, our relationship's too good? I just don't see that happening. I think if men gave it a shot, all parents rather, but if we could give it a shot, I think we would see an incredible uptick in the quality of human beings that we're creating, pumping out of these homes.
Yeah, I would say let's strive for 30 days, right? 90 days is long.
I started with 1 month and I immediately took
kids,
more.
Yeah, kids are tough, man. It's not easy being a parent. 30 days would be more realistic, but yeah, man, if you remove the physical violence, the hitting, spanking, corporal punishment, any type of punishment, right? There's always better ways. And something that there's a quote, I don't know it exactly entirely, but it says, children have never been good at listening to their parents, but they have never failed to imitate them. And it's close, the quote, but I think it's important to recognize that a lot of how we parent, a lot of what we do is we just want our kids to listen. We just want to have their attention. We just want to be important enough as a father for our kids to notice us and acknowledge that what we're saying is important. And a lot of times when they don't, that's when we have the heavy hand. That's when we get the deep voice. That's when we get frustrated. And you teach your kid in that moment, right? I said that they're going to imitate you. That when things are tough, it's okay to be outraged. It's okay to blame other people for what's going on inside you. And that is not evolving, right? That is regression. That is falling back into old ways. That is taking out your pain that you have not dealt with and dumping it on your children, right? It's treating them like a punching bag. So going back to the evolution of fathers, we have to learn in these processes, right? If we truly want to be good, like you said, give 90 days with Phil, he'll change your life. If you truly want to become a better father, give it some time, put in the work, start changing bad habits, right? Because that's what it is. Just like drinking too much, popping pills, you need to start changing bad habits. The great thing about your children is when you go through this process, you have somebody working with you, right? Your kid is there by your side, and you can have interactions with them and say, hey, what is going on? How is your life? What could I do to help? What could be better? And that is a process a lot of parents will completely neglect. They won't do it. And there's a couple of reasons, but the main one is fear. Fear of what your kid will say to you. The fear of the truth, right? Your child telling you, Dad, I'm afraid of you. I don't like being around you. And unfortunately, a lot of parents will just bring the hammer down even harder, right? That'll even trigger them and really emotionally enrage them. So to be a good man, like you said before, Zach, right? We have to really start looking at our character and who we are, how we carry ourselves, right? It's more than just getting physically strong and walking with your shoulders back. It's more than just making a lot of money and being good in business. It's how we treat the most vulnerable, the smallest and weakest people in society. To me, that's what shows a man of great honor, great respect, great dignity. You take pride in who you are because you're willing to go the extra mile. You're willing to put in a little bit of work to teach or to guide and be a good leader to these people who really see life as challenging and wide open, right? They have no idea what's to come. They have very little life experience. If we keep showing them that experience, that it's violence, it's hatred, it's disrespect, it's mistreatment, how do you think they're going to turn out? How do you think their perception, their view of the world is going to be? Right. And that is going to be even more painful when you get older, when you see your son get into a marriage with a manipulating wife who's treating him like shit. If you see your wife getting into a relationship with a man who's physically hitting her, right? These things, how we raise our kids, have real consequences later on in life. If your teenager is an addict and they're shooting heroin or taking fentanyl to hide their pain, why do they have pain? What is the pain coming from? Where have they learned to suppress their pain of what's really going on in their heart and their mind, and look to a substance to make them feel better? Why is that your kid? Right? And we'll make 1,000,001 excuses. Oh, it's their friend group. Why are they hanging out with pieces of shit? Why are they hanging around with other kids who don't feel good about themselves? And the worst is the people who blame society, who blame social media, who blame TV. I mean, this is the age-old racket that's been going on for decades, right? Oh, it's the telephone. It's the TV's bad. The TV's evil. Now it's Atari, Nintendo, social media, Facebook. All these things have control of your kids. Where are they being learned to be so easily manipulated and controlled? Got to fix the home first.
No, absolutely, man. As you were talking, I was looking at overdose deaths.
Ooh.
Dude, the statistics are insane. 52.7 overdoses involve fentanyl. From March 2018 to February 2019, 47% of drug overdoses involve fentanyl. 20% of the U.S. states report at least 98% annual increase in opioid overdose deaths. A lot of people are dying from this, man. A lot of people are hurting. And it coincides so well with what you just said. We have been blaming something outside of the home for so long. I'm trying to think. It's the fact that we have a wheel. Are we going all the way back to caveman? I'm like, what's the first one? All these damn wheels. That's why the kids are running away. Oh, they got to do plow. Oh, now we've got a tractor. Now we've got a, like you said, the Atari and all these things. And it's like, man, we've always said it's somebody else's fault but our own.
Yeah.
Always. We don't want to give credit there. But think about what we're doing. You're stripping away the power of your title. When you say, yeah, my position will impact them that much, and my lack of presence will also impact them that much. When you put that weight on it and you give yourself permission to be a man of value, and that has great impact on people, like, dude, I'm like Jupiter. My gravity is fucking heavy, dude. Jupiter has huge gravity. It's a big ass planet, And so the impact I have on my kids, good or bad, is going to be big. I'm the father. I'm the only man that is operating within this home. The only one that they get to see. They see my wife. They see me. Our roles cannot be replaced. No computer, no anything else will replace who we are. And if we abdicate that authority, if we abdicate that position in their life, that role of being the filter of the outside world inside this home, if we say, let anybody jump in here, we don't matter. Look what happens when you think you don't matter. Your kid ends up on drugs. I just saw one that said 36,000 deaths in 2019, and it's gotten worse than, I don't know what the number was. I couldn't find it for 2022.
After COVID,
36,000 in 2019. With people being stuck indoors and all the shit going on and people being stressed out, it's much higher. Now, that's insane. 36,000 dead kids. Because no matter whether it's a 50-year-old or somebody, that's somebody's son or daughter. That's a kid. Why did they turn to that? Because they didn't know how to handle the trauma. They didn't know how to handle the pain, the disappointment, their failures in life. When you dial it all the way back, they did not develop the strength they needed to survive in our world. And so they turned to drugs to numb it away. Or they made a really shitty choice because they're like, fuck this. I'm just going to do it. And now they're gone forever. I don't wish that upon anybody. But I think the only way to get people to understand this is to start to recognize now that you've got to be proactive as a parent. Don't wait for the issues to arise and then you react to them. Have a healthy, coordinated response. Hey, here's what we're going to do. And I'm talking now. My kid's 12. My oldest son, he's 12 years old. And so that he's the one kind of pushing the way and bushwhacking his way through life. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to handle some things now. We're going to have discussions now. So don't worry about it happening later. You'll know what to do if something were to come down in your path. When I look at what men are doing inside the fraternity, they're like, well, I don't know where to start. And then you start to have that discussion on, we got to strip away the fear. Just start putting, your foot forward. Just start moving in the right direction. And one of the things that we learn is that these men have no control over their life. And the only time they're in charge is when they come home and those kids have to do what they say. Sometimes their spouse has to do what they say. And so the only
I
time
hate when
you
you
are the
point
boss,
this out, man.
the only time you're the boss is when you're in your home. And they're afraid that if I let that go, if I let go of being in charge of these kids and this lady, and I get on their level to connect with them, and I remove my domineering power because I'm a man, and they take that away, they're afraid they're no longer a man of anybody. They're not in charge of anything. They have no impact, no like pushing the world in any direction because nobody listens to them. And this is so crucial to the development, though, especially talk the evolution of a man. It is so that's such a critical moment because that's when you realize I have power over me. I have absolute power over myself. I'm the fucking boss of everything that happens inside my world. And so when I go to work, it's to a job I choose to be at. You know, when I go to do this, and if your boss tries to shit on you, no, I'm done with that. You aren't going to speak to me like that. You're not going to call me on Saturdays unpaid. You're not going to fucking abuse me or try to make me, you know, the whipping boy of all things. And whatever your situation at work is, it's either polishing the resume or setting a new standard as to what you're going to do. When you have confidence in yourself, you're not afraid to say that to your boss. You're not like, oh, yes, I'll do anything. No, fuck that. I've got to be in charge of me. I've got to lead me to better lands. And I can't go home and dunk on my kids because that's how you just pass the trauma cycle. I've got to be able to swallow it, process it, handle it, filter it through myself, and then connect with those kids too. And I've got to show them nobody, not your mother, not your father, and sure as fuck not your boss, is going to treat you as less than in any environment. And you say that to your sons and your daughters. And you show them by living that way. You don't let anybody walk over you. You don't let anybody tell you how you're going to live your life. You don't let anybody tell you what's right or what's wrong when it comes to what you want to do with who you are. You don't have to go to college to be successful. You don't have to not go to college to be successful. You choose your path. You don't have to sit, build an empire online. You also don't have to go sit in a cubicle to be successful. Like, you choose what's right for you. But there are some universal aspects, and that's something we do need to focus on. When we're talking about the evolution of man, there are a few areas you have to focus, you have to put your effort into, and you have to be intentional about. It starts with, in my opinion, it starts with removing the violence from the home. That is where it starts, because that forces you to find other ways to do things. You can't just rage on them. You can't, get the belt, I'm going to whip. You can't do that. That's off. So what are you going to do? You've got to learn how to use your words. And that sounds funny because we say that to kids, but you really have to learn how to communicate. How do you explain to a child? We talk, explain like I'm 5. That means you have mastery over something. If you can't explain to your child like they're 5, if literally or not, if you can't explain it to their level, then you don't even really know why you're telling them to do the thing you're telling them to do. Because if you knew exactly why you're saying, don't do this, go do that, you'd be able to explain it in simple terms. Don't run across the street because it's a very active street. I'd like to walk with you, or we can go to the light, or we can go to the thing, or we can look what there's so much and many examples to it, but you get my fucking point. You break it down to
well
their level.
said.
And so I just think that's one of a few. But I mean, obviously when it comes to fitness, that ties in so well because a strong man is one who's not bogged down, physically. You're like, your body isn't always hurting. You think better when you work out. The soreness is better than the obesity pain. I should be more clear. I'm pretty sore right now, actually. That's why I'm kind of like leaning forward. My lower back hurts. But, when you are venting that, there's truth to like it being therapy. They say men will do anything to not go to therapy. They'll even go pick up a barn. It's true. When you work out, when you train yourself, you push yourself physically, you kind of vent that out, and now you're much more relaxed to do things. Sitting around, we had a video about family dinners. We talk a lot about making time to connect with the family. All of this starts to cascade, and you start doing all of these right things as a man when you make the decision to remove the violence and start living better. You have to choose to evolve. You have to give yourself credit. You have to give yourself enough self-respect to the title of father. When you do that, you realize that, oh shit, I kind of have to live up to something. It's not about being Peter Griffin. It's not about the dad bod. It's not about dad jokes. It's about being a great man who's going to lead great men and women. When you do that, you'll change the entire trajectory of your entire family. Your last name will become something.
Yeah, Zach, you said a few times, well, you said it a lot, these have-tos, right? Things that you have to do. And how do you think a man like that is created, right? A man who thinks they have to do all these things. They have no internal compass, right? They have no self-guided direction where they're actually saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do." Right? You have to go to bed at 9 p.m. You have to brush your teeth now. You have to do your homework now. So it's just we're a product of our environment, right? What you're describing is a man whose life was controlled by day one, who didn't have any freedom, and uh,
Hey, we got Kala.
Yo,
But keep
yo.
going though. That's a good line of thought.
yeah, no. So we don't. What's up, Kala?
What's up, man?
We didn't have any freedom as a kid. So how the hell are we supposed to know what freedom is as a man, right? And we look at our family and it's so cut off. It's so disconnected because we're disconnected from ourselves. We don't know who we are. We don't know, or we don't even care enough to know, right? We won't even do things that are good for us, that will benefit us. And again, man, going back to those have-tos, right? There's men who live their lives according to what everybody else tells them to. They don't have any thoughts of their own. They can't think critically. And even if they do escape this confinement of mediocrity, they get fucking scared and they're afraid. And that shit is tough to deal with when you're by yourself, right? When your whole life you've been around other weak men and you start to break these chains, where are you going to go? How are you going to deal with this? Right. So leading up is the question for you, and Kala can answer also now that he's here. But when men tell you, right? Yeah, no, Zac, I get what you're saying. I understand, right? You and Anthony, I see it, but I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. I can't be that strong. I'm not capable. I've never done that before. Right? What do you tell a man like that?
That's actually a great question. I'm going to add to it and throw it to you, Kala. So we were talking about the 12-week course you guys are going through. When men come up and they say, hey, I get what you're saying, but how do I do this? I don't know what it's like to live any other way. My father was overbearing. I was spanked. I grew up. I thought that's what you're supposed to do with kids, and I don't know in my mind, am I allowed to be free? Am I okay to make my own choices? I don't know how to do that. I've never done it before. If you were to go like way back when there was still slavery, take a dude out of the South, drop him in the North. Hey man, start your life over. They'd be like, what does that mean? I've had nothing.
Yeah, put me back.
And when we say like go back to the plantation, like for men who are hit, that's where they go. It's like they out as a child, they outgrow it when they become a teen. I'm my own person. I'm a free man. Let's go forward. They become a dad. They go right back to where they were. Time to hit him. Time to yell at him. Time to enforce your will upon him because that's what men do. And so, Kala, when it comes to the 12-week course that you and Anthony are running, I mean, we gave a big shout out, but you can plug again how people can sign up to that. Where do you start with them? How do you start the process of re-educating somebody who might have been, 1984, they're still thinking 2 + 2 is 5. They think dad equals disciplinarian, dad equals authority, dad equals spanking. How do you break that?
I can really talk and share from how I'm handling things. And big thing that has helped me is recognizing that I can grow with my son, grow with my kids. They don't know how to do things. We can figure it out together. And that creates such a bond from the start of kind of being okay with humility with your kids, letting them know that when you make mistakes so that they feel comfortable when they make mistakes. So you're saying like, I only caught the last part, but
no excuses, man. Come on, come with it.
Welcome to the Thunderdome, son. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I thought we were starting at 8. Anyway,
we've been rolling for a while.
Yeah, it's all good. All right, so what do I say to people starting out that don't know how to, have emotional fortitude? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you have a dad who is filled with self-judgment, self-doubt, right? Where you're telling him, hey man, these are things you have to do, it'll improve your life. And they're saying, nah, I can't do that, right? Or I'm not strong enough, I'm not capable, right? I don't know what it looks like. What do you tell a man in that position to motivate him?
Yeah, so I mean, same thing applies what I was saying. Your kid doesn't know, right? And so like it's okay to kind of grow with your kid and figure things out together. Now, that's not to say that you can, make foolish mistakes. You have a fully developed brain, your kid doesn't. So you have a certain responsibility, right? First and foremost, you have a responsibility as a man, you have a responsibility as a father. And responsibility as a man, as I see it, is number one, taking care of yourself. And when you show your kid that you're taking care of yourself, that's going to make things a lot easier for him to understand. He's going to have that trust in you. He's going to learn through your actions. And so when you need to apply discipline for your kids, discipline meaning your accountability, your responsibility.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Then you it's okay to put yourself first, because when you put yourself first, you're going to reveal a better self to your kids, a better self to your wife, to your family, versus trying to be in denial about it or think that you can handle. It's 8 o'clock. Oh my God. So you can handle everything, handle all the stresses, and kind of showing like a stressed father, or someone that just doesn't know how to respond to challenges, gets angry very easily, whatever the case is. So that has helped me, is recognizing that I can grow with my kids. We can make mistakes together, and we could learn the lessons together and apply it together at the same time. And that, I feel, is going to make the kid be more comfortable when they make mistakes and come to you. And I'm already seeing it through my kid. Like I share all my emotions with my child. I let him know if I'm feeling stressed or frustrated. And he's responding in ways that we respond when we see him frustrated. So he now tells us, take deep breaths. He comes to us and says, it's going to be okay. Right. And he's 4 years old. Like it's pretty magical to see my actions being instilled through his behaviors, because I'm showing him that it's okay to be not knowing everything all at once.
Bro, that's an excellent point. And the same way that you pointed out, right, when your kid's angry or when you're angry, and he goes, "Oh, it's going to be okay," right? That's classic. But that works really well when you're sad, and your kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, Dad, what's the matter? Right?
Mhm.
Do you need help? Do you need anything?" Like I said before, kids imitate us, right? They're mirrors. We say this all the time. So imagine a kid who all they see is spankings, all they see is threats, all they see is fear from their dad. Do you think they're going to genuinely care if their dad's going through a hard time, if their dad's upset? Do you think they're going to be like, "Hey, Dad, you want a spanking? Right? You want me to go get the belt? Because that works for me. Maybe we'll give you a little bit of your own medicine. I'm going to make you feel better. I'm doing this because I love you." I mean, I can't. I'm not going to keep going beating on that drum.
Hey, so but when I hear that, I think that ties in quite well to what Jimmy G threw down there. He said, "Would sharing our own experience help another father, know that it's possible?" And as Calla was going, and as to what you just said, is to how the kid can show the father. The best way for us to show fathers the other way to live is to live that way and to show them. And a great example inside FOE, when we have the fatherhood discussion, when a father shares like, "Hey, I'm struggling," whether they say, "Hey, I freaked out, I was stressed out, I yelled at the kids, I spanked the kids," or, "Hey, we're all on eggshells, or we're having issues, or my kid doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to brush his teeth," the things that we normally hear. If you bit the dude's head off, or if I said, "Just don't be a bitch, be a better man," nobody else in that group would speak. They'd be like, "I'm not sharing my issues because all Zac and Anthony do is yell at me."
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes they need it. But if that was the approach we took, nobody would grow. But instead, we're like, "Hey, man, it's cool. Like, here's my recommendation. Here's my advice." And they're like, "All right, cool." That right there allows the next man to be like, "I have a question too. I'm going to share my failure because I saw that when this dude did it, you didn't destroy him. You helped him. And so I want help. I'm going to share something I wouldn't normally share because I want you to help me." That's no different than our kids. So to Jimmy G's, to answer the question, when you live that way and you give them that courtesy, they learn that it's okay. Same with your kids. As you were saying, Cal, when you say, hey, like I get frustrated too. You know, sometimes I just want to like freak out. Sometimes I'll drop into push-ups. Sometimes it's just like, I got to go for a walk. They learn like, all right, cool. I'm not going to hit my sibling. I'm going to go for a walk if they're bothering me. But if when you get mad, you hit your kid, then your kid's going to hit their sibling when they get mad. You're showing them how to act. They follow your example, not your advice. You know, and what's interesting is Raj followed up, to control others before oneself is to put the cart before the horse, and you go nowhere. If you're thinking that you're going to fix your kids without fixing you, you're not hearing what we're saying. You, whether you think so or not, your unresolved trauma, your personal issues are going to bleed into everything you do. From your interaction with your spouse, to how you work at your job, to definitely the way you parent your children. You have to heal you. You know, Anthony has said a million times, the king eats first. Kala with Greater Forever, with the fitness angle, you're constantly saying, look, you've got to make the decision to stick with this. You can't just say, I want to try. Like, no, you've got to commit to the change. You've got to start taking care of yourself. And that means eating a different meal than your family. That's what you have to do. Then do that. You have to be okay putting yourself first. And through both of those examples, be it fitness or, you know, parenting, it's the same. Like Raj said, you know, you can't think that you're going to fix somebody else when you're broken. If you aren't living it, you can't give it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to shift it a little bit to same topic, but just a little bit of a different outlook. Think about those men who, or think about the kids, right? Think about this concept, this idea that we have this world that looks at success a certain way, right? We have kids and they get good test scores, or they do well on an SAT, and we think that's winning, right? We think that that's bringing them some kind of fulfillment in life. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being an academic. Being smart, intelligent is excellent. I promote it in my home. What I'm saying is we look at the man who goes out, he becomes his own person. He goes and gets a job he doesn't like. He has a career that he hates. He's married a woman that he doesn't want to be with. And people look at him like he's successful. People look at him like, oh man, he's living the dream. If you were ever to sit down with that man, you would find out the truth. You would find out that he's been living his whole life under orders by what everybody tells him. So there's a little bit of deception we have to look at when we talk about raising healthy kids. Like I always say, I don't care what my kids do. I don't care what they achieve. I don't care how many followers they have on TikTok. Just kidding, Belle. I don't care.
Dude, she's crushing us.
Combined. I don't care what job they have. I don't care how many goals my son scores at a lacrosse game. When he leaves those games and he gets in my car and I drive him home, we talk about real things, right? We talk about, hey, man, motivate your team. You guys got crushed tonight, right? Keep a good spirit. Be a leader out there. You know, don't dwell on the negative, right? Next time you're going to be better. I don't sugarcoat things, but I tell him real stuff. And my point is, there is this hidden agenda that we think what we know what success is, what we know what happiness is. With parenting, we see our kids a certain way. We see them get some kind of achievement, whether it's academically, or we see them have a whole bunch of friends and we think they're happy. Never do we go back and sit down with that kid and have a real conversation, right? Never say, hey, I'm concerned about you. Or, hey, I noticed that you're acting weird and I want to know if there's something that I can help you with, right? Those little moments are going to influence your child's life in such a greater way than if you spank them every day of their life, right? Those 1 or 2 moments of connection will completely change the trajectory of who they become as an adult. That's how powerful it is.
You know, it makes me think of the surgical precision of the infection that our modern society has become. They infect the family as soon as possible. If we go to Brenda Murata, we're going to talk from birth. From birth, we're going to talk about trauma. And we're not going to go down that path right now, but it's definitely a great video you should check out. But when I hear that, it's constantly, what does your kid do? What do you do? When people ask you, what do you do? If they're not asking, are you having a good life? Are you happy in your marriage? They're saying, what do you do for work? What are you putting out to society? Are you somebody who is valuable to the machine? And with your kids, what sports do they play? What grades do they get? What trophies do they bring home? What highlight reel do they have on Facebook? Not is that kid happy? Not is your kid connected? Not is your kid just walking their own path and living their own life and doing their own thing, which is great. It's is your kid in the system that my kid's in? And guess what that system is going to do? It builds the dude you were just talking about. The guy who has the cars, has the house, and has a heart that's filled with pain. That's what they want. They want a drone. They don't want independent, sovereign individuals. They want drones. They want bodies. They want people to keep feeding to this machine. They want your kids to pay their taxes, and then kick their kids out at 18. And they want your kids to probably get divorced because your kids will be the one funneling the next kids. And it'll be keep funneling this little machine while these people get fat and fucking rich off your destroyed family, your lack of connection, and your absolute, inability to think outside of 2 + 2 = 5. We're headed, at a rapid rate, we are headed towards a society that doesn't even know how to parent. The screens are in front of everybody's face, like from day one. How do you raise a kid? You give them a tablet, and then you throw them in daycare. They might come home, for an hour, and you just tell them to be quiet. Go play. What the fuck are we doing here? What are we really doing as parents? When's the last time you sat down and you asked them, hey, how are you? How are you doing? That's awesome. Let's put the electronics away and let's go for a hike. Both of you guys are constantly getting out and doing things. So you get it. And I'm not preaching to you, obviously, but a lot of men don't even know how to just break from the cycle. Like, how do you jump off the ride that is modern living?
This was such a blessing for me to be woken up thanks to COVID and the whole thing that happened starting in 2020 when I lost my job. That was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because
I love stories like that.
It absolutely. And there are many that they needed that to happen. They needed to get off the wheel, off the tracks. And I was left with a choice. I lost my job, and I had an opportunity right there. I could take it as a loss, or see it as a new chapter that I could write. And that's exactly what I did. And since doing so, man, everything has changed. Like, I completely agree with what you guys are saying. Everyone's just completely distracted. There's distractions everywhere with electronics, the media, the movies that you watch, the billboards that you see surrounding you, being trapped in traffic at the 9 to 5, listening to the radio. It's all like setting you up for this false expectation of how you're supposed to live your life. And it's slowly stripping away the control that you have of your, destination. I thought I was doing great. I thought I was working in the music industry. I was, I grew up being in a band. I thought I had it all. But I hated the people that were in my office. I hated all the colleagues and the record companies. It was just this false reality. The point I'm making is fatherhood. When I got to be more empathetic with my kid, that completely changed me, because I got to be more empathetic with everyone around me. I apply what I practice at my home with my kids, now with my wife, now with my friends, now with everyone around me. And it's so almost disgusting to see, and sad to see, so many majority of people being so blinded by them being brainwashed into this, like I said, this false expectation, this false reality, and thinking that they don't have the choice. They just have to keep doing, they have to be in the secure job of basically hating their life 5 days a week, looking forward to the weekend so they can eat junk, get drunk, and be hungover till Monday morning and repeat.
Wash the pain away.
Yeah, exactly.
What
Solid
music did you?
tagline right there.
What music were you into, Kala?
All kinds, everything but country.
Heavy metal Christian.
Are you gonna rap at the end of the episode for us?
No, but I
Fatherhood
definitely
rap?
the drum. I was a drummer. I am a drummer, still a drummer, and definitely being in hip hop bands. So yeah, it's a wide variety of music, but man, it's an ugly place.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You don't know you're in it, right? It's
Yeah.
when you're in the system, you you don't even realize, right? That's how entrenched you become. And one other thing about the system, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, they have this really sinister and evil way of keeping everybody not only blind to what's going on, but they make everybody fight and argue, right? And they tell somebody like, oh, that's the parasitic class, right? They're feeding off of you. You're going out, you're working and you're paying your taxes. And there's nobody saying, why the fuck are you working and paying taxes for them? Right? Who cares who's feeding off you? Look what you're feeding. It's like a two-headed monster, and you're only looking at one head. You're only seeing what they tell you to see. And we're not gonna make this about government.
We absolutely should, because it's a huge component. They got their tentacles and everything. I dropped a tweet today saying, my family's unvaxxed and we go out and do whatever we want. We can do exactly what the people who are triple vaxxed do. Why did nobody at any point start thinking, hey, maybe this isn't right for me? Because the government told them what to do and you blindly follow authority. That's what you're supposed to do. The parenting model has been hijacked. We always look to schools. That's based off the factory model. Well, those who give a shit, they understand the factory model is how they created the public school system. How do you get these kids to stay? You sit them in there for 8 hours. You break it into blocks. You allow them certain segments of freedom or the illusion of freedom where they can go out and move. And we think, oh, an hour of moving a day, that's great. You get recess. What the fuck? You chain your kids to a fucking desk for 8 hours or 7 of those 8 hours, and you let them free for an hour recess and say, all right, that's great. Oh, but in middle school, we're taking that away too. Because in middle school, you got to sit and you got to be at school for those 8 hours. Okay. We look at that. We understand that. A lot of parents are in a position where they can't homeschool. I get it, but let's not beat around the bush like this is a good thing. It should be supplemental to what they're learning in the home. But your parenting is based off the same damn thing. Do as you're told, be quiet, follow this set of things, and we're cool. I'll give you a star if you do everything I ask of you. How is that any different than what we see in businesses? Do what I ask you to do, meet my deadlines, don't complain, and I'll give you a employee of the month. Or, and here's an idea, go out and live your fucking life however the fuck you want to live it. Your job is just a job that pays certain bills. And I think I'm a natural, I don't like being told what to do. It did not work well for me as a child. It worked exceptional for me in the military because you kind of just, as an engineer, I had to find ways outside of the box to fix things or to get shit to work. That was awesome. It helped me out in my career. When I left, I refused to just go to a 9 to 5. I refused to think that sitting in a commute and going to that was my purpose in life. I was like, this is just a job. When I got out, somebody offered me a $70,000 job, but I wouldn't have control of my hours. And they're like, dude, we're going to make you management. You're a veteran. You're motivated. You're a good leader. $70K, you'll be making 6 figures easy within your first year. And then you get overtime on top of that. Okay, cool. I ditched that job for a bullshit $43,000 a year job at the government because that was just strictly you work from 9 to 4. That's it. You can do whatever you want after that. You're on salary. There's no overtime. There's none of this shit. I was like, that's what I want. Because I can work out, do all my things before then. I'll build my business on the way to work, on the way from work. I don't suggest you guys record videos during your commutes. It's pretty fucking dangerous. And I built my business, coached my kids. I was always home. I took that. I built it. I built a free life that I'm living now. If people gave themselves that type of permission to not be stuck in the system and to be free, or to at least evaluate their parenting method as to why do you parent the way you parent? Why do you just default to no when your kids say, hey, I want to do this? No. Well, let's go for a walk. No. Let's go do that. No. Why? You don't even know why you're saying no. You've been conditioned as a parent to view your child as an obstacle to living an optimal life. And by optimal, you mean comfortable, sitting down, doing nothing. But then you're miserable because now there's no purpose in your life whatsoever. So this brings me all the way back to what I was saying earlier. We as men are not designed to be living in a conflict, obstacle-free world. We are meant to have struggles. We are meant to overcome and persevere. Every story that you read in any tradition of any culture that has ever existed, the hero wasn't the dude who spent the least amount of time moving. He was the dude who went out and did things and conquered and slayed and explored and went on adventures. That's what life is. That is what life is about. And you can do that in 2022. There are no unconquered lands. You can't go west and, like a cowboy like you used to be able to do. Like, what the hell is stopping you from going on adventures with your family to new places you've never seen, which
Dude,
are
what
new
about the
lands to you?
metaverse?
Fuck the metaverse.
Yeah. And even in schools, right? We're talking about schools earlier. I want to bring up the point of like how they discipline in schools. This is what scares the crap out of me. Is when I acknowledged like traditional disciplined parents sending kids to the room. Something that I grew up doing is writing lines on paper. That's what they do at school. They send you in detention. They make you write lines on the chalkboard. And that's all because of neglectful parents over years and years and generations. It's now being like allowed and accepted that is a form of discipline. Or even worse, they'll send the kid home for suspension. They'll send the kid home, no school. I don't think I've met any kid that has been upset with that kind of consequence.
Kala, there's 19 states that still let teachers hit kids in
That's
school.
crazy.
In school.
Yep.
In class.
Parents say, yes, this is great. Hit my kid, please.
Right. Yep.
When they don't do their homework, beat them. That'll teach them a really good lesson. But to go what you were saying before, Zach, right? This about the system. You're not going to break people out of the system because they love the system. They worship the system, right? It's like talking to a dad about spanking, and he says, "I was spanked and I turned out fine." He loves the abuse, right? It's become normalized. And since we're talking about schools, if you look at the history of public schools in this country, it is based off the Prussian army. And it is based in a system of rows, don't speak, don't think, follow orders. And the reason it came about is when they were at war, normal soldiers would run when they were being shot at, right? They would go and hide for cover to protect themselves. They wanted to devise a system that created a huge, or let's say an overwhelming sense of patriotism, where these young people, these young men mostly back then, would run towards the bullets because they were willing to die for their country. They were, and this is propaganda, right? This is a system that was set up. It was implemented in the United States. And that's why they're so attached to this fucked up system that doesn't care about them.
You know, I shared something just before we came on. I said, I don't think my son or daughter will join the military. And it's not a lack of, I don't know if this aligns with your patriotism, but it's not a lack of patriotism. They love our country. They love the freedoms we have within this country, but they're just free individuals. And in the military, you are not a free individual. You're going to follow the orders given to you and to the way you lace your shoes, which ones go over the top, all the way down to that. You're told what to do. I needed that. I don't think my kids will. And I don't know how it plays into it. And, we'll see as they go. They'll make their choice. But it'll be interesting to me to see when they're in the window where they're going to make that choice, what they'll do. And I honestly don't think that they could go from a home that we live in. Like, I grew up in a very militant home. It was
so
an easy
why do you
transition.
think you needed it?
I think because that was what I knew. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. Like, fuck school. I had told myself very early on, I'm just going to go in the military because that's what men do. To me, I thought that's your proving ground. That's where you become a man. You serve your country to show thanks for the freedoms it gave you.
Well, that's how it should be.
But in my head,
yeah,
it was a very romanticized version of that, And now when I look at it objectively, I'm like, well, yeah. People will say like, oh, you just joined the machine. You fought for the man. I fought for me. I went for my reasons, and mine are like way more romantic than getting GI Bill or getting college benefits. And when we talk about the evolution of a man, I think that's a part of it. To where I've taught my kids, you choose your path, and there's no defining moment that's going to make you or break you. It's a lot of little moments that are going to bring you up through life, and you're going to win some fights and you're going to lose some fights. You're going to grow. You're going to fail. This is just life. But to think that you need to be a part of something bigger for you to define who you are, dude, I don't think that's necessary. I think in a child's life, you can cultivate a sense of self-worth, or at least self-awareness, to where like this is me. If I want to go in the military, I'll do this for my reasons. If I don't, I'll go to school, I'll go to college. I won't go to college, I'll go to vocation. Fuck it, I'll take over the family business, and then our kids will take over Oak and Rock. And and then we'll just pass it and we'll go do our thing.
They'll
I have
go
no
hungry.
idea. But what I know is that the exterior cannot define the interior. Wearing the uniform does not make you a man. It's what's inside your soul. And so when I think about these things, I'm instilling that fire and stoking that fire now to where I hope they're not going to think, I need a house to show my family I made it. I need like a big ass fucking house just to show like, hey, look at me. I need a brand new what the fuck ever vehicle because that's what that family has. I need my kids to hit these trophies. I need my spouse to look, think, and act a certain way. They think they have to do these things based off of the metric that's been set by somebody else that wants them in the system. And that's kind of to bring it back to what I was saying about the military. Because of the way I'm parenting and the example I'm setting, I don't think they'll want to be a part of any system that tells them what to do. I just don't see that working. I couldn't see them wrapping their heads around it. They have a hard enough time in school, and the only reason they're in public school is they wanted to go. It was their choice. We were homeschooling. We moved to North Carolina. They wanted to meet more kids. They said, I would like to go to school. Jack and I said, that's your choice. If that's really where you want to go. I straight up told them, I was like, I would prefer that we just kept homeschooling, but I understand what you're saying to me. And you know what? This is your choice. And so we let them go. That went against everything I wanted them to do. It worked out great. They got their friends. We're doing awesome. They're learning a lot of things. Again, we still teach a lot in the home, but they saw you own the consequences of your choices as well. If this is shitty, we're going to have to figure some stuff out, but you made your call. It did work out. But again, this is a system they put themselves in. It's just interesting to see this thing play out as they grow, kind of where they're going to fit into this. And with all the things we're learning, I mean, the world is changing rapidly. We're seeing a lot of things happening fast. Cal, like you said about losing your job, that being the spark that ignited things. A lot of families went one of two ways. COVID made them stay home. They're like, I love my kids. I want to be home more.
Yep.
So they're going this way. They're the haves. Some people came home like, I don't know my kids. I'm just going to get drunk all day. Fuck these kids. I'll send them back to school. And they're going to go have-nots. And we got to find a way to continue to put out content in a manner that lets these people know, like, the government's not on your side. Yeah. The people that are looking to control you, they're not on your side. Those looking to vaccinate and tell you what you can and can't do, where you can and can't have your business, what you're allowed to do. They're not there for you. They're not doing this so you win. They're doing this so they win. And so
you're
it's
talking about the bad governments, though.
I'm talking about every government ever. Anthony's infected my kids.
What makes them bad? Right? The initiation of force. That's what makes them bad.
Yep.
You will do what I'm telling you to do because I know it's best for you.
Or else.
No, the fuck you don't. You're an elected official. You serve me.
No, I mean, to me, it's mind-numbing sometimes, the compliance, how easily it happens. And, a lot of things we talk about, even you, Kala, right? That there's conversations we have on Twitter, Dad Twitter, and Peaceful Parenting. People are always asking, well, if I'm not hard on my kid, they're not going to make it, right? They're going to be weak. They're going to get taken advantage of. So I have to apply the pressure. I have to be mean to them. I have to set boundaries. I have to be tough, right? That's going to make them tough. And, it's like not taking responsibility for the child you're creating. If your kid is getting picked on, if they are depressed, if they don't know how to think critically, if there's certain things that they're doing that you see you don't like, you better believe they're getting it from you, right? Your lack of parenting. It would be like if we said, we're going to just throw our kid in the pool and, it's going to make them tough. They're going to figure out how to swim. No, man. Let's go in the pool with them. Let's teach them the doggy paddle. Let's put some swimmies on them. Let's give them an advantage so they can become good swimmers. And you'll still have parents say, no, throw them in, right? Throw them in the deep end and let's watch them struggle. And that's how they're gonna get out of it.
What's the fear though? What's the tagline that goes with that? That's gonna make them strong.
Sink or swim.
No, so if I don't throw them in, you're afraid your kid's gonna be weak.
Yeah.
Why is there such a fear of your child coming across as weak? Because that's a representation of you. A person with a weak child is a weak man. If your kid cries at their sport, you got to beat them because they're embarrassing you. You don't want your kid to go out there because, oh, look at that pussy dad who raised that pussy kid. That's basically what's going through their head. I can't have a weak kid. What do you mean you can't have a weak kid? They're children. They're literally the weakest people in society. What the fuck do you think they're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Like, these are kids we're talking about. I think that's lost sometimes. Throw them in the river.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what a real man does. Fucking losers.
They literally eat boogers. You want to make them. You want to make them tough.
Zach, back to what you were saying about your kids creating their own system, and just making sure that system's safe and guiding them in their creation. That's exactly how I think parents need to be, right? Too many parents think that they need to create the path for the kids instead of letting their kids create their path, and our job making sure that it's safe for them to walk in. So like that's something that I'm recognizing now with my boy. He's 4.5. He's 4, almost 4, and he's like throwing things all over the place. He has temper tantrums and whatever, and I still initially think that he shouldn't be doing these things, right? It's just like that's wrong, but I have to always remember it's like no, there is no right or wrong. He doesn't know what right or wrong is. He's just exploring. He's being curious. He's being what a 4-year-old's supposed to be. And
he's
my
doing
job
what he
is
knows.
Sorry?
He's doing what he knows.
Yeah, he's doing what he knows. And so my job isn't for him to stop him doing these things. It's for me to be more creative on how we can have fun doing these things so he can learn when to do these things, when not to do these things, or how to do them differently. You guys, opened my mind up when you were saying give your kids power, give them choices. By giving the more power I give my kids, the less stressful this home is. It's so unbelievable. You'll have parents saying that they don't have time to practice peaceful parenting. It doesn't work. I've tried it. It doesn't work. But it's like consistency always tells the story. And if you just took 5 minutes of being in your kid's mind or being in your kid's shoes for a minute, you'll see they best respond with play. They love being creative. They love being imaginary. And I think that is such a gift for parents or for fathers that they're allowed to rejuvenate themselves, have fun with their kids, and not be trapped in this expectation of what adulthood looks like. We have responsibilities, but you also have responsibility to be connected with your kid. So that means you got to step in their shoes a little bit.
Yeah,
Well, you
that
say
is the
responsibilities-
evolution of fatherhood right there, Kala.
Well
Yeah.
said. Like, hey, tie that in. You said, connecting with your kids. If your aim is to raise a functional adult, how can you continue to belittle and shove your child into the position of being a servant to you? You're never teaching them to become the master. I speak,
Yeah.
and let's really break this down. The parents who are saying, well, you're going to give your kids power. They're going to run amok. They're going to have attitudes. They're going to be swinging from the chandeliers. And my first question is always, why do you think so negatively of your kids? Why do you think that kids are so bad? That's always where people go. They're just such bad people. They're going to do everything wrong if you give them any freedom. Dude, I grew up. You both of you men personally know me. I would say we've been talking and hanging out enough for you to know me personally. I can be an intense individual when it comes to certain subjects. When I get onto something, I go with it. That's what the fuck I do. That's how I found success in my life.
I haven't seen that.
When I sit and speak to my kids, dude, my kids will tell me no. My kids will say why. My kids will be like, I don't think we should do it that way. You hear me and you're like, Zach would come down with a hammer. Who are they to challenge? Those are my children. They have the exact level of respect that the two of you men have, more so because they're literally my kids. But the way I speak to them and engage is the same way if one of you came to me and said, Zach, why are you running your YouTube like this? You can't see the Q&A. It's blending in with Anthony's light background. I'd be like, oh, dude, thanks for letting me know, man. I got to fix that. This has been running in the back of my head this whole time, But when they say no to me, I'm not afraid that I'm losing my authority as a dad. My job is not to be their authority. My job is to lead them through life. If they ask me questions, that means I'm raising somebody who's intelligent enough to think outside of just the way I'm telling them. They might know something I don't. They might be smarter than me. Maybe they're not smarter than me. Maybe they want to do it a way that I know is going to end up really bad for them. I'm going to vacuum the stairs using the little push thing instead of the handheld thing. Okay, you think that'll be faster? Yeah, go do it. I'm not going to be like, do it my way, grab the hand thing. And when they're freaking like, it's so heavy, I know, grab the hand thing. That's why I said, dude, I let them learn the lesson, man. They have an experience. They learn a lesson on their own. Yeah. And now they know why. If I was just to say, because I said so, they'd be like, fuck, man. Okay, because you said so. And it would just beat the spirit out of them. It would beat what makes them an individual. We can't be afraid of our kids challenging us. We should want that. Because when any of you men challenge me on parenting, I have to stop and evaluate my position. I've got to stop for a second and say, all right, why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel this way? Why do I share this message? And I think and I dial it back. I'm like, all right, I believe this because of this. This is why I stand here. If you can convince me something else, I will change my opinion. Until you can convince me, this is the way it's going to work for me because this is what I found to be true. My kids have that power. They have the power to change my opinion because they're human beings. They're individuals. They're not my servants because they're my children. They're not the house slaves. Like whatever you want to call them. They're not that. They're human beings. They are their own person. We should respect them as such.
Well said, man.
Yeah, man.
It is, we are a product of our environment. And the sad reality is what we see in society comes from the home. And a lot of people cannot connect those dots, right? They don't see that there's a whole system that just came crumbling down and enforced completely irrational compliance on everybody.
Did you see Raj's comment I just threw up there? That perfectly segued into that. That was well said.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it, like I said, man, you can't connect the dots because of multiple reasons. But, we're going to keep beating this drum, right? This isn't just like theories and shit we read in a book. These are experiences we're living. We all have kids at different ages. Kala has a youngster and a baby on the way. Zach's kids are a little bit older. My kids are grown adults already. And, a lot of what we share, a lot of what we discuss are the experiences we go through, right? The things that we've figured out with our kids, how we've learned to talk to them, how we've learned to build relationships with them. And I think it was a great example that you gave earlier about the men in FOE. When they come to us with a problem, we're there for them, right? We connect. We tell them, hey, you're important to us. We're going to take the time. We're going to try to help you. Why do we not offer that to children, right? A grown man who's perfectly capable of his own to go out and create a life for himself. We're going to offer him more consideration than a little kid who can't tie his shoes, who doesn't know how to put on his underwear, who, is incapable of surviving without us. But we're going to inflict pain. We're going to let them go through trauma because they have to learn. It's madness. Yeah, and your boy Raj is blowing it up.
No, Raj is fantastic. I know who that is. I'm not going to throw his name out there, but he's a cool dude. I will say this, and this goes to Kala. You guys are running this 12-week program, and I wonder how many men are hesitant to commit to something like that, but they would immediately jump on a 12-week fitness program, 12-week business program, 12-week course for ClickFunnels program, 12-week fatherhood program, or being kind of better man, better father, dialing everything in. There's hesitation there. Because what kind of man needs to invest in other men to tell him how to be a father? There's still that. It's the same thing with FOE, except very fatherhood direct with what you guys are doing. With FOE, it's why should I pay somebody to learn how to be a man? And I'm like, why is that where your brain goes? Why are you hesitant to invest in yourself at all on any arena? I want to join a group of men who are crushing it. Yeah, because that would accelerate your growth. You want to win, jump in a group of winners. They will show you how to win. It's literally how the fucking system works. I want to be a better dad. All right. For however much you guys are charging, here, drop that down. And guess what? You can go learn to be a better dad. 3 fucking months. That's a long time. 12 weeks, 90 days, 3 months, however you want to word it, whichever one sounds best to you. That's a long time to be doing some work. 31 days to masculinity is almost a too long of a program for some people. This is 12 weeks. How freaking beautiful is that? There for 3 months, you can work on being a better father. And yet men will not pull the trigger because I don't need that. And they stay exactly where they are. You do need that. If you're on here, something about this is speaking to you. Something about Oak and Rock, something about fatherhood, something about peaceful fathers, family alpha, greater forever. Something about what we're talking about is speaking to you. Go all in on it. And this isn't a sales pitch. Go all in just in the discussion. I mean, the chat's open. Outside of Raj, I mean, anybody can jump in and just share a free question. Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to connect better with my kids. Drop that in there. We're like, all right, let us talk to you. How old is he? What are you doing? Or how old is she? We can go down that path. Men are afraid. Dude, I cannot tell you how many fucking DMs I get after we run these. Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm like, bro, why didn't you ask it live? Oh, I just wanted to sit and listen. No, you didn't. And yeah, I'm calling everyone out right now that has DM'd me. I'm talking to you. You guys send me those DMs, but you're in here right now watching us because you don't want your name to pop up on the screen because you don't want to be the man who has to ask the question. And rarely is it women. You've had 1 or 2 females come on and ask motherhood questions, which is cool because this is about parenting overall with the focus on fathers. But you're afraid of your name being associated with asking how to be a better parent because what kind of man has to ask that question? And to me, the best men ask that question. The motherfuckers who want to win ask that question. The dudes who are looking to thrive and better connect with their kids ask that question. Those who want to break the cycle they're stuck in want to ask that question. The people who are trying to evolve as men ask that question. But you're going to stay in your seat and not ask that question and be exactly where you were 12 weeks from now when these dudes are done working with the men who did join. And I want to be like that. Then fucking join. Put in skin in the game. Invest in being a better parent. Buy a book.
Yeah.
Buy a course. There's PDFs that are free on parenting. Oak and Rock, like I said, I don't even know how many videos right now. I think it's 70 plus. Watch them. There's email. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, dude. I'm giving the answers to win. We're giving literally the answers to the test. And you're like, nah, it can't be that easy. No, it is that easy. You start working and you improve and then you evolve.
We are in the most opportunist. We have the best opportunity. Right now, you know, the era that we're in, right? And
what was that?
What's that?
I had to like release the energy, man.
I just heard him let out a puff of air. I thought he was fucking deflating.
Just breathing.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, we are in the best opportunity of our lives right now, living in an era where all the answers are are in our hand, right? And a lot of people, again, with the distraction thing, they think that they have to click on what's trending. They have to engage of the negativity that's on their timeline. I would say the best place to start is if you can't be surrounded by inspiration in your physical world, you have an opportunity to be surrounded by inspiration in your digital world. Turn off the notifications on your phone. Turn off the negativity on your timeline. Only follow people that you aspire to be. Connect with those people that you aspire to be. Join online communities to get, learn more lessons, get more knowledge, because the people that are in these communities, the people that are in FOE and Dad Twitter, whatever, we love this shit. We love it so much. Because we found so much benefit of being inspired in like-minded individuals who invest in self-improvement and can see the benefits in their home. And when they see the benefits in their home, they see the benefits in their community. And you could literally change the world, and it all starts from the home.
That's the plan.
Yeah. And so
we're taking over.
We're going to build our own government better.
That's it. But yeah,
that's a great point, Kyle.
Yeah.
Right? Ignorance is a choice.
Yeah.
In the age of information, the resources you have available, you choose to be ignorant, right? You choose to see your kids suffer, to have your family suffer. I don't care if it's through parenting, through finance, through obesity, or these are all choices we're making. We have to take a stand. We have to reach out. We have to talk to other men. There's so many people that are out there motivating and inspiring others. It's not hard to find somebody, right? You might have to weed out a couple of the snake oil salesmen, but there are literally people providing free resources to get better all over the place. And
We got a question.
David has a question.
All right, so shout out to R. Mahoney. The rising tide raises all ships. That's absolutely true. When you start to fix yourself, everybody around you grows as well. And something that's interesting, and before we jump to Dave's question, when we're talking about what it is we're doing, understand, I can't stress what Kala said enough about this is what the fuck we do. There's a reason we created Oak and Rock. There's a reason I created the Fraternity of Excellence. There's a reason Anthony runs Peaceful Fathers. There's a reason Kala has created this 12-week program to help men actualize their best selves, to include being a better father. There's a reason those two tag teamed this to come at it with, so you get two perspectives on one thing. That way nothing's going to be missed. There's a reason we do this. It's because we care. We want you to win. There's no gimmick. There's no gotcha. There's no I'm getting rich and you're just going to stay the same. It's 100%. You invest in this, you're going to get far. There's no percentage I can put on it because I'm going to be too low. Far more than you put in. The monetary value is nothing compared to what you're going to take away, because you take it away and you have that for life, but you're also connected to a new network that you can always go back to. So understand, this is not a pitch. This is literally what we do. You can either jump on with us or you can be left behind as we move forward. But now to the question. With respect to a 4 and 6-year-old girl, so two girls, 4 and 6, it can be hard with all the emotions of two girls who don't have control yet. Absolutely true, brother. I have one daughter, and it's staying calm is hard. Seems like they only listen when I raise my voice. And I'm not sure where it finished, but because something. Advice.
Well, he says raise my voice because they realize I'm serious. That was
gotcha. I didn't see the second part. All right, Anthony, you have two daughters. I think you're perfectly suited to answer this one.
24 and 21.
And they're your older ones, so you actually were in this position.
I was, absolutely. Many moons ago. I'm an old man. No, and it is, David, it is hard to stay calm. The reason why they listen when you raise your voice is not because they're learning anything. It's because they're afraid. So you can choose to parent through fear, or you can choose to be a little bit vulnerable and learn to connect with your daughters. Instead of reacting, be responsive. We say this all the time. They don't know how to control their emotions because they're young. They need somebody showing them that example. They need a father to be that rock, to say, hey, I understand you girls are frightened, you're upset, you're angry, but it's okay, right? You don't want to push the feelings away. You want them to be accepted for what's going on right now in their mind, with their thinking, with their feeling. And that connection right there, right? That's acceptance. Your girls, now they see a dad who's not raising his voice, being, the bigger person, the louder person. They see a dad who says, hey, there's something changing about him, right? Maybe they talk to each other and they say, you see how dad treats us? He doesn't care about us, right? Because people who care about us, they're not going to yell. They're not going to threaten us. They're not going to make us afraid. People who care about us, they connect, they worry, they love us. So those are the things that you start to change. And I would say the last thing, my advice would be is, it's not easy, man, but keep with it, right? Just keep getting in the reps, keep improving, and you will see changes. Not only in your kids, you'll see changes in yourself, right? Kala said this before about reparenting yourself. You're operating on a system that you know, right? It's I'm a dad. I can raise my voice and my kids will listen. Get to a system that's effective. Start getting your head in the books, right? Read about parenting. Listen to Oak and Rock. Find resources that will help you better deal with situations, so you can give your daughters resources from you, so they can better handle their situations, right, when things get tough.
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, and I think a good way to do that is to even bring up situations after the storm has calmed down a bit, and to go over maybe not so much with your 4-year-old to understand, but your 6-year-old could definitely understand bringing up a past episode and asking her how she felt during that time, and simply just going, "Do you want to talk about it? What's wrong? What happened? Is how can I help?" So that way, when they're in that emotional trauma again, they'll feel more comfortable to come to you, knowing that they can.
Oh,
100.
absolutely. I mean, to add to the two of those, that's solid advice. The two of them. I'm only going to add because I feel left out. One is the environment you come from. It's not easy to go from the warrior class to the fatherhood class. When you're in an environment that's an all male network and you're just like, doof, 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 you're just locked in. Something I've learned is you have to flip a switch. Even when I come back from FOE events, I'm so charged up, man, that when I get home, I'm just like, we're going to take over the world. And I got to flip it because they're not that audience. Your children are not soldiers. Your children are not employees. Your children are your children. And something I've employed like big time, and it might sound weird, but it's like a breathing technique, man. I truly, when I start to get like that, oh my God, like these kids are just barking, pressing the button. I'm like, all right, guys. And then like that little thing has become my way of not using the dad voice, because that used to be my go-to. I would never spank it, but I would be like, hey, and I don't do that. But I have to like breathe it out. I'm like, all right, these are just kids going through something. They're having a bad day. They're just picking at each other because they're siblings. And when I do that, I'm like, all right, I talk to them. So I reserve the dad voice. Like if they're swimming in a pond and they start to go beyond where I told them, like, don't go deeper than this, because I know that there's boats going by or people like it's just too deep. I'm like, hey, and they're like, all right, cool. We got to come back. This isn't safe. That's what the voice is for now, is literal danger.
Yeah.
That's the only time it's used, because they understand, hey, he's not messing around. There's some reason we can't go this far. And so they come back, whether that's playing in rocks, climbing up trees, whatever, but in the home, for you to have to raise your voice, it is a loss of control. And I'm not going to say that as a jab. It's just, that's just what it is. I've lost emotional control. Both of the men on here at some point have lost emotional control. It's just the thing. The aim is to limit it and keep pushing it to where it's once a month versus once a week. And then it's once every 2 months. And then it's once every 6. Then you don't even do it anymore. That's been my journey. I don't do it at all anymore. Outside of, like I said, very specific, important situations.
You find better ways.
And by doing that, I have built other connections with them. Now
There's
they know.
There's a word for that. Starts with
it?
It starts with the E.
Empathy.
Evolution.
Oh, I should have tied that in. It's the name of the fucking episode. But Dave, that's kind of how I see it, man. Is like, look, you're a motivated dude. You understand how things are supposed to work, and you're a man of order. Not chaos. When there's chaos, you want to snap it back to order. But with them, you have to understand there's a lot of emotions involved. I've got a boy and a girl. I don't think it's that different than 2 girls. They still get that worked up and whatnot. And so my experience has just been, look, we got to talk it out. And eventually it's going to take some reps, man. In the beginning, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because this is a new system for them as well. But eventually they're like, all right, dad asked this and it's cool. And dude, I speak to my kid, even though your girls are 4 and 6, I speak to them like they're adults. Oh, hey guys, I noticed you guys were bickering about the blocks. What can we do to fix that? And like, have like a little powwow with them. All right. And then when they're like, oh shit, I have a voice at the table. You're not going to tell me what to do, but listen to me. Then they choose their adventure and even if it's like fake freedom, even if you're like, hey, you can do this or this, you're really only telling them you're going to go that way, or left or right. But in their head, I get to choose. And so it's actual freedom. And so you sort of meet them in a way where they're being able to make the choice, but it's in a nice controlled environment that's conducive to the aim you're trying to get to. So whether that's cleaning the room, getting along, whatever, you let them make the choice as to what right looks like. And they're going to be, I would assume that they're eventually going to hit the point where things will get a little bit easier and less tensions required for you to bring them, back to center line.
This is where nutrition kind of comes aligned with this. I look at
I
Dave's
love how you
question.
tied this to fitness.
Well, because it does go hand in hand. I look at Dave's question, and he starts off in his question saying, "Staying calm is hard," and big reason for that is, there's underlying issues there, and I mean, I'm not picking on Dave at all.
Get him.
But there's, that could be lack of sleep, that could be lack of malnourishment, or that could be a sign of malnourishment. Um, that could be just not investing enough self time, investing, prioritizing yourself in health, because that's where my journey began. I had like these like flares of rash, and I didn't know what to do nutrition wise, and I had this like very poor diet, and I noticed like my tolerance level was just tanked. I was like so short tempered, impatient, and that was like a sign of malnourishment. I was under eating, undersleeping. A lot of parents, new parents for sure, they get trouble sleeping, and then that just like escalates the whole stress level and the emotional response. So that is why, I do tie the two worlds together, nutrition and parenthood, because um, when you do invest in yourself, when you do invest in your health, you're going to reveal the best you to your family so that you're more energized, more in control, making better decisions. And so, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's our tagline. If you feel like shit, you parent like shit.
Yeah.
I was thinking like we need a slogan, like acted nonverbal. Like I got that for the Family Alpha. Like, do you have one for peaceful fathers?
Don't hit your kids.
That's a good one.
I want to. I just want
to.
I want to hit one more thing with Dave, man. The stakes are high, and you can get advice. You can learn better ways to parent, better ways to deal with difficult situations. One thing to remember is how you parent now is going to have an effect in your relationship in 20 years with your kids, right? It all ties in. So you're parenting now for a better future. And you have to believe that, going back to the beginning of the podcast, which was like 4 hours ago, we were talking about being a good man. And those are questions you have to ask yourself all the time. What does it mean to be a good man? What does it mean to be a good father? How can I become a better father? That's something you have to constantly ask yourself. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. It's okay. You pick yourself up and you keep moving forward. But you can't lie to yourself and use things that we know are not good, right? We know that we don't want to be yelled at because we don't want anybody yelling at us. We know that kids don't want to get hit because we don't want to be hit. This is how the world works. We have these principles we have to live by. And if you focus on that, you can feel better about what you're doing, right? You don't have to beat yourself up. Mistakes happen. Like I said, keep moving forward, brother.
That's well said. Kala, before we wrap this up, do you have a link or direct access to men who want to join the 12-week program, or is it just a DM to you or Anthony to get inside?
Yeah, you can DM us. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @GreaterForever. You can go to Facebook group, just search Greater Forever, Building Strong, Confident Families. I'm there. Or you can just go to greaterforever.net.
Cool. Anthony, any closing points?
This has been good, man. We've been going on for a while, dude. I think my tank is empty. I appreciate it. I love doing this stuff, man. This is what I live for, besides raising family and kids.
Kala, brother, thank you for coming on. Your insights are appreciated. And again, that unique perspective you bring. I love how you spun it to fitness. That last point, I didn't even think of how nutrition could play into it or how lifestyle could play. I immediately jumped on parenting. I didn't even think like maybe the dude's tired. Like maybe he just needs to like make sure he's locking in the lifestyle. But so appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on. Anthony, another one down, brother. Let's keep this thing going. For all who tuned in and commented, liked, subscribed, shared, I can't thank you enough, because the only way this thing spreads is when you guys take the time to share with the world that the conversation is worth sharing. The only way for people to know that fatherhood and talking about it's normal is when you share it and let people know, hey, this is something I watched today, or here's something I'm interested in. They're like, oh, why are you interested in fatherhood? They check it out and they learn like, oh, maybe we should start talking about this more. Maybe children are worth it. You know, maybe they're more important than our bank account, more important than our fitness, more important than all these things. Or maybe that's all equally important. And it's not one above the other, because how you do one thing is how you do all things. I don't know. I'm just a dad asking questions, but we'll see. You guys stay well. Thank you for tuning in. And again, make sure you've subscribed, liked, done all that jazz. This has been another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. Y'all stay well.